Hi everybody. The last few days I've been feeling that I wanted to reach out to everybody really and just talk about all the confusion and tricky times that we're navigating. And what I really wanted to focus on was talking about discernment and how to work out who to believe and who to trust and those kinds of things. So I will talk about that. However, something happened yesterday that really touched my heart, and I just wanted to share this with you. So living here in our caravan at the moment, so I can't generally record my readings from here because of lack of privacy. So I've been driving up to the moors. It's just a few minutes up the road and a beautiful place to go and sit peacefully and be surrounded by nature. So yesterday afternoon I drove up and I found myself a spot to park, and I did notice that there was a motorhome very close to where I was parked, but I focused on the view and did my recording. As I was coming to the end of that, I'd started to see on the periphery of my vision that there was a notice in the front of this motorhome. So when I finished that recording, I actually turned and read the notice, and it was a large notice board that was in the window, the front window of this motorhome. And I can't remember word for word what it said, but it was along the lines of, please stop taking photographs of me and my van, and please stop reporting me to the police or to the wardens. I am not breaking lockdown rules. I'm not on holiday. This is my home. Please go away and leave me alone. Words to that effect. And this really kind of piqued my interest, and I just thought, why would anybody tell this person to leave or whatever? So as I was looking at this, this gentleman got out of his motorhome with his darling little dog and began flying a model aeroplane. So I just got out of my car and began speaking to him, which is quite unusual for me, and I didn't even really know what I wanted to say to him, but I just felt compelled to speak to him. First of all, he was really reluctant to speak to me. Obviously thought I was someone that was going to complain or someone from the authority. But I just mentioned that I'd seen his sign, and I just wanted to say that I was really sorry that he's experiencing this. So and then he opened up, and we actually spoke for about 45 minutes. And he explained how he'd ended up living in his motorhome, and it is by choice. He's chosen that life for financial reasons, but also because he's found that a lot of people in life have let him down, and he likes to be alone with his doggy, who was 17 and mostly blind and completely deaf, but the most gorgeous little soul, who was very playful and kept checking my pockets for biscuits. But we chatted, and the stories that he told me about what's happened to him and how he has to constantly move on, and the aggression that he comes across, and the judgment, not just from people saying that he's breaking lockdown rules and that he's on holiday, which he's clearly not, but just from people judging full stop, that this is somebody that's chosen to live on the road rather than live in a normal situation. And it's really kind of made this man withdraw from the world. And actually what he told me, which I found completely heartbreaking, is that he's 67 and his dog's 17, and he said, really, I'm just waiting to die. And I just found the whole thing so heartrending. And I really wished that we already had our earthkin lands, and said to him, if we had that now you could just come and be there in a quiet corner and nobody would bother you and you could just live your life. But these situations, I know it is not uncommon. I'm sure that he's not the only person in this kind of living this way. But it was the bullying tactics of people and the judgment and the inability so often of people to look at a situation and not be able to put themselves in the shoes of that person, just to make such huge assumptions. And that really does kind of quite tie into what I wanted to talk about, what I planned to talk about, which is, all the things that are going on in the world, particularly on social media, and the bullying and aggression and judgment is quite astounding. And I mean, if you're a person that listens to astrological reports and is very much in tune with the energies of the universe, you will know for sure that we are in unprecedented times and the world is changing, and it really is up to us, all of us as individuals, as to how that goes. So we need to focus on the world that we wish to create and bring that into being. So there's kind of two things going on here. There's that knowing that we're all in this, and we're all responsible for focusing on the world that we wish to create. Yet there's all this hatred and bullying and judgment of others, and complete intolerance of anybody else's view or opinion, and the name calling is just quite unbelievable from whichever camp anybody is in. There's so many derogatory things being said about others, and this really bothers me. Where is our compassion and love and understanding for one another, even if we don't have the same opinion or the same view, and we see things differently from another? Who's to say which of us is right and which of us is wrong? All we can ever have is our own opinion, and that's the place that we come from. So what I wanted to talk about really was how to be more discerning in deciding and choosing, feeling into what we believe, what we focus on. There's so many people out there on social media now that are talking about all the changes that are happening. And there's so many different viewpoints and so many different opinions. And it's quite tricky at times to navigate that, because you can listen to one person and think, well, yes, that makes sense to me. And then you can listen to somebody else and that equally makes sense. So how do you know who to trust? Well, I think the conclusion that I've come to is that ultimately the only person we can really trust is ourselves. And we have to really get to grips now with becoming our own guru, coming into our own heart space and really feeling what is truth for us. And again, people can still argue with that, of course they can, but if you're truly coming from your heart center and your feelings and your belief are coming from your gut, from your intuition, from your heart and from your soul, rather than from your head, then there is no argument to be had in the sense of feeling you need to defend yourself. If you feel something that strongly, that's what you feel. And our feelings and our opinions and our beliefs change and evolve over time as we learn different things, as different things are shown to us. But as we journey through our life, generally we change anyway. So to spend as much time as possible focusing on being in your heart. And when you listen to somebody speak and they're telling you something that is a little bit shocking or surprising, and it goes against everything in your head belief-wise, just tune in rather than listening with your ears and seeing with your eyes. Listen with your heart, see with your feelings, and just see what you feel. The problem is that we have this separation between heart and head, and the world that we have been living in is very much encouraging of being in your head, thinking practically, thinking logically, whereas the feeling side of us has not been quite so encouraged, certainly, you know, through my upbringing and my school years. You know, it was never talked about that you tuned into your own feelings. That was never taught or suggested as another way of doing things. It was all head. But our feelings and our emotional response to things, our intuition, is actually far more important, because that is the pure connection to source and to our higher wisdom, whereas our head gets bogged down in conditioning, in thought patterns, belief systems that have been created that we don't even know are there. So spending time really dropping down into your heart and your gut and feeling how this feels. Watch somebody speak. How does that feel to you? Does it feel off? Does it make you feel a bit uncomfortable? Or does it feel, oh, this just kind of feels like a slight relief feeling? I feel a connection with this. I don't feel quite so alone in the things that have been wandering around my mind, wandering around my energy system. So getting into your heart, learning to work with your own feeling center, your own intuition, your own instinct, that gut instinct, is so important to do now. And I feel it's really our job, really, to do that for ourselves and for the whole world, to create this world that we wish for, rather than all this butting up against all the time and all this discord. That is not the world that we wish to create. So if there's somebody that is trying to argue with you about your opinion or your belief, try, if you possibly can, just to let them go. You don't need to, unless you feel passionately enough that you want to engage, you don't generally need to engage, because a lot of argument comes from that other person's perception, that other person's belief system. And we are all coming from different places, from a myriad of different places, and there's always going to be a differing of opinion, and that's okay. We can still be kind and understanding and compassionate to somebody that has a different view from us. We don't need to be unpleasant. And I really feel that I'm not talking about some kind of utopian society where everybody thinks the same way, because personally I can't see how that will work. You know, everybody is different, everybody is on their own journey, and that's okay. You know, celebrate our differences, but don't allow yourself to be attacked for your differences. Just walk away from that. No, that's not my reality. That might be yours, but that's not mine. No. And just walk away from it. Don't allow yourself to be jangled and energetically put out of balance, because that really is unhelpful for keeping you in your heart space and keeping you in that intuitive state. The best thing to do when you've got any of this going on, or you're witnessing any of this, is of course always, as my standby, is to get out in nature. It's absolutely the best thing to do. It's grounding, it opens your heart, it helps you connect with your heart. Just going out and looking at what nature is doing, even though right at this moment in time it appears that not much is happening. Certainly in this part of the world, everything looks dormant, but you know, this kind of connects in also with what the situation that's happening in the world. Just because the branches look dead and the earth looks bare does not mean that there's not an awful lot going on under the surface, and very soon the shoots will start to come through. So connecting with nature and spending time just to reground yourself, rebalance yourself, to help yourself come back into your heart, is so helpful. And if you've built up some agitation, some upset, you know, somebody's attacked you for your views, then get out there and stomp it out. Have a really good stomp around, stomp your feet on the ground, and just intend that all of that jangled energy just comes down through your body, out through your feet into the earth, and the earth will completely transmute that negative energy into light, and it will have left you. And when you're out of that energy, then it's so much easier to connect with your heart space and your intuition. So nature, as always, is the answer, certainly for me. And it's just a really good way of rebalancing yourself and coming back into you, coming back into your heart, and getting yourself out of your head, which is where everything can get a bit crazy and washing machine like. And just take a few moments. If you haven't got the ability to go outside, then you can just sit and look at pictures, you know, on the internet. Just look at pictures of nature, watch some videos of somebody walking on a moor or through a forest, and you can still connect with that energy. And just breathe, slow your breathing down, and as you breathe in, just focus on peace, and as you breathe out, just focus on peace, and it will just help recenter you. Okay, so I think that was all I wanted to talk about today. It's not like me, I don't often do videos, but I really felt quite saddened actually at what I've seen of late, and you know, for me it is sometimes quite hard to know who to trust, and it always comes back to the only person that you can fully trust in the sense of your own knowing is yourself, because we all change. As I mentioned before, we're all changing all the time, so our thoughts and opinions and beliefs can keep changing as we grow, and the same happens to those that we listen to. So it's not that I'm suggesting that people that are out there speaking publicly about things that are happening in the world are not to be trusted. I'm not saying that in the slightest, because there's so many people out there with such valid, heartfelt, passionate information. But just see how that feels for you. If it doesn't feel a good fit, that's okay. Move on and find things that do fit. And if you're unsure about that person, just tune into your own feelings and make a decision for yourself. But also be aware that that decision may change at some point. You might then listen to that person or another person talking on the same subject and feel differently about it. So just go with your heart and not with your head. Okay, lots of love then. Bye for now. Bye.